With this, ladies and gentlemen, it's absolutely a pleasure to have all of you right here under this roof. And there's no better way to kickstart the day with all of you putting your hands together. Could we have all of you applaud for yourself with a huge round of applause? Let's welcome you all to the People Festival of L&D. It's time to say sound, light, camera, and action. We can do much better. Bangalore weather is quite pleasant. It's always nice to have all of us clap and warm ourselves up. Come on, one more time, a huge applause for all the stakeholders in the house for being present. Well, they say innovation is at its best when it gets people together. And innovation is a byproduct of the constant L&D that we all put in together. And with this, on this note, officially, I welcome you all to the BW People Festival of L&D, or in other words, People Festival of Land, L&D. It's absolutely a pleasure coming on a morning time. Beating the traffic and the pleasant weather of Bangalore is always a pleasant challenge. So we'll set the context and perspective before we segue in and have the speakers. Can we do that? This is where you say yes, no, or maybe. Thank you. Could I request everybody to just stand up quickly for a second? If I could request everybody. Very simple task. Right here under the roof, we are one tribe, we are one clan, one fraternity. So what I'm going to do is going to give you a countdown. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. Exactly at the count of 1, I want everybody to sit down together in a quick motion, as quick, as swift, as fast as possible. Can we do this? As a gesture symbolizing that we are one team. Exactly at the count of 1, not before, not after. So the slow motion of the last one to sit down probably will be the entertainer for us to start the show. Right? So if you don't want to be in the spotlight, just sit exactly at the count of 1 and as quick as possible. I know we've got the smartest minds in the house. You will sit when I'm traveling between 3 and 2. No, only at the count of 1. Are we clear? Superb. So let's learn and develop right here together. I want everyone to sit as quick, as swift, as fast as possible at the count of 3, 2, 2. Got you there. So it looks like it's going to be a group performance. But now that I have your attention, hear me out one more time. 3, 2, 1.5. Now we are listening. And now when I'm going to give you the final countdown, I want everyone to clap it out loud. We need your utmost attention, and we want you to be a part and parcel of this fantastic day that we have planned up for you. At the count of 3, 2, 1. And yeah, I said 1. I think I put too many hooks out there. Clap for yourself, clap for yourself, clap for yourself. We'll blame it on the pleasant weather of Bangalore. It's not just us. But before I segue in and introduce the first speaker, and of course we've got like fantastic lineup of panelists and leaders, there's one slide that I want to start off with, just to set context in a fun way and to trigger our brain cells. Could I have the slides, please? So this one's called Look, Don't Overlook. I request everybody to just have a look at the screen right now. Next slide, what's going to come up will stay on the screen for about 20 seconds. In that 20 seconds, we request you to look at all the things, the possible things that you can figure out, and make a small note of it on the notepad. The ones who can figure out the maximum will get a chance to walk away with 2 nights and 3 days holiday package. Destination, I'll tell you later. But we have something special for you. So could I have the slides, please? So this one's going to stay for about 20 seconds, and we want everyone to figure out how many things, animals, whatever is hidden in this. You can figure it out, put it on the notepad. And in a fun way, we will also reveal your IQ level. We are here at the L&D meet, and it will be a nice addition. 15 seconds to go. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go back to the previous slide, please. Yes. All right. How many? 10. Okay, someone's got 10, 9, 8. Someone's got 11. Fantastic. 11 is the highest so far. 13. All right. Superb. Anybody else who can beat 13? 13 is the highest you've got. All right, superb. So let's reveal this. Could we have the answer slide, please? There are actually about 13 animals or things hidden in this particular picture. Could we have an applause for all those who got 13 in this? Lovely. Was the question paper leaked or have you been a part of this before? No. Okay, superb. Then a bigger round of applause to her and to the gentleman. So now, can we have? Yes. So when you look at this, just look at all the objects that you have missed. What were the things that you missed? Most of you got 8, 9, 10, 11. So look at those animals or things, whatever is there, that you missed. So most of them are animals or insect that we have. What is the most common thing that we missed? Bird head, probably the prawn, probably a snake in the tail. Yeah, the mosquito, the dolphin, yeah, in the trunk. Bird head, it's like a bird head. With our imagination, we can make it anything, but yeah, it is a bird head. But what I want to establish right here is, when I put up this picture, can we go back to the previous slide, the question slide? When we happen to look at this through our naked eye, through our naked mind, just the open mind, we were able to figure out like how many hidden things. Probably we were seeing about 4 or 5, correct? How many did we see? 4, the elephant, the donkey, the dog, and probably the cat. But when I said there's a lot more things hidden inside, and there's a lot more things that you can figure out, we looked deeper and we were able to figure out 8, 9, 10, 11, and even 13. And today marks a day such as this, wherein there's a lot more than what meets the eyes. There's a lot more opportunities that we can uncover and unveil together. And today is a day dedicated for that, whether it's innovation, collaboration, or celebrating together. So if you agree that it's a day that we're going to uncover, and as they say in the business world, there's always more money on the table, and if you believe in that collaboratively together is a day where we're going to look at all these new opportunities and new perspectives, please put your hands together and welcome yourself right here to this fantastic day, ladies and gentlemen. And just to set a fun context, I promised you that I'm going to give you your IQ levels in a fun way, absolutely. So could I have the answer slides, please, the next ones? So how many of you got between 10 to 13 here? Now more hands are coming up. So excellent, clap for yourself, pretty good. And a little lesser than that, 7, 8, 9. So my league, I got 9 the very first time I tried this, so very good. But if you've got lesser than that, it's absolutely fine. That is about 5, 6, good. Remember the 35 average marks we used to get in school and college and we were happy about it? That wala league. But the problem is, if you've got a lesser than 5. Has anybody got lesser than 5 here? I know you would not raise your hands up. If you've got lesser than 5, it doesn't mean that you're poor. This is absolutely based on analytics and a small research. It doesn't mean that you're poor. It just means, according to research, if you are getting less than 5, that means you're diverted or distracted elsewhere. We request all of you to please put our first love, that's the mobile phones, in silent, so that it's a respect for all the speakers who are going to come and who's going to be sharing their views, reviews, and their insights. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I request you to put your hands together loud and clear one more time, because when we clap, endorphins get released in our body, the best natural boosters and best painkillers and mood setters. On this note, a good morning and welcome you all to this fantastic day, BW Festival of L&D Conclave and Awards 24. The grand 2-day-long summit serves as a platform to discuss, celebrate, and illuminate the remarkable journeys of organizations and pioneers who have been curating learning journeys with a purpose. The theme for BW Festival of L&D is designing learning with a purpose. The panelists who we have right here today will focus on designing skill-based learning programs with technologies, curate purposeful learning to master learners' engagement, engaging L&D modules with just-in-time learning aids for busy learners, prioritizing human connection in the age of AI, and focus on L&D spends that deliver real-time ROI. And today's proceedings will start with a keen look at evolving role of chief learning officers in India. We are thrilled to welcome L&D influencers, the enthusiastic audience right here, and the invaluable content that enriches the entire day's proceedings. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we bring to you the latest insights of learned CEOs, HR leaders, recruitment and staffing firms, HR tech providers, HR solutions company, government skilling organization and NGOs. The community caters to freshers, job seekers, employers, employees, policymakers, service providers, the job market, and everybody in the HR ecosystem. And before I segue in, I request the team to play the AV, which talks about the BW team community audiovisual, please. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is BW People Festival of L&D. And as we know it, BW Business World, led by Dr. Anurag Bhattacharya, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, BW Business World, and founder, Exchange for Media Group, is the fastest growing business media house in India, with a network spanning across 24 niche business communities and 8 magazines. BW Business World is proud to be entrenched in various verticals in the domestic as well as global business ecosystem. With changing times, BW now has massive leadership in the digital space as well. BW in its portfolio has 24 niche B2B communities that organize conferences and forums to facilitate interaction between sectoral business leaders and create a conducive environment for collaboration. To keep yourself all about development, please subscribe to Business World Group magazines. It would add to your professional quest for knowledge and insight, and there are exciting offers for all the attendees right here at the event. And also do watch out for upcoming annual B School special issue that hits the stands this weekend, ranking India's top B schools and voices of B school directors on what's happening in the management education ecosystem. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start this day's proceeding, but not without thanking all our partners for the day. Our HR network partner, NHRD Bangalore chapter. Could we have a big cheer as I mentioned the partner's name? Coaching partner, Take 5 Global. Tech training partner, Enlink. We've got our exhibit partner, with HR, Stalwart Learning, corporate gifting partner, GKD, and a big shout out to our event partners, the Thick Shake Factory, Joy Travels Private Limited, Realty Bliss, Exchange for Media, IWM Buzz, Impact, Pitch, Fandrum, and Beanley Coffee. A big shout out for all the partners. And quickly, could I request the team to run the AV, thanking our partners and for their presence. So that's our community and the AV that talks about it. Could we have the partner AV, please? Thank you. All right, now that we are done with all the formalities and the context is set, it's time to welcome the first speaker and then segue into the keynote speakers of the day. Are we ready? Okay, I just got like 4 people saying yes. Are we all ready? It's about learning and development, and you know that one of the most important skills to get there is to listen and to respond, and we want everybody to put in your energy. One more time, are we ready? Yes. Super. Before I segue in and call the lady to welcome us all, I want to introduce your host and host for the day, who is going to be your entertainer, the one who's going to be interacting and making sure that it's going to be an engaging day. I want all of you to put your hands together. We've got one of the coolest MCs in town, one of the most well-known RJs all across the country, and according to me, the most handsome man that I have met. Put your hands together. We have RJ AMAR, your host for the day. Come on, everybody, RJ Amar in the house. Hi, that's me. You can still clap for me. Come on, everybody. Absolutely thrilled to be a part of your day. And let's have fun. Let's learn and develop together. On this note, join me in welcoming the lady in the house. We've got our business head, BW People Community, to welcome us all, Miss Bilkis Naqvi in the house. Good morning and over to you, ma'am. Come on, everybody. A big cheer. She loves the sound of applause. Take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Amar. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BW People Festival of Learning and Development 2024. It is a pleasure to see so many passionate individuals gathered here today, united by a common goal to enhance our skills, share knowledge, and foster a culture of continuous learning. For a moment, let us reflect on the importance of learning and development in our ever-evolving world. In today's fast-paced environment, the ability to adapt, innovate, and to grow is much more crucial than ever. This conference is not just an opportunity to gain insights from industry leaders and experts, it is a platform for collaboration, inspiration, and transformation. Today and tomorrow, we will explore a variety of topics from the latest trends in learning technologies to effective strategies for fostering a growth mindset. We encourage you to engage actively, ask questions, and share your experiences. As we kickstart this festival, let us embrace the spirit of curiosity and open-mindedness. Together, we can create a brighter future for ourselves, our teams, and the industry. Thank you for being here again, and let's make this conference an unforgettable experience. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn something new, and we hope all the contacts that you make here turn into friendships and new contracts. Happy learning and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkes. I think we can put our hands together louder for the lady starting the day right here. This is People Festival of L&D, and we've got another amazing personality to speak to us right here. We've got the Chief Learning Officer, KPMG. We want all of you to be a part and parcel of this session, wherein it's all about Chief Learning Officer to Chief Skill Officer, building a skill-based organization. I'm sure it's a topic that we all would want to be a part of. So join me in welcoming this gentleman. Apart from having such a high-level designation, probably if you can add on a little more anecdotes, he would probably be the show stealer or the most sharp-looking gentleman in any hall that he walks in, and he's got a beard look that could kill. Put your hands together for the Chief Learning Officer, KPMG. We have Mr. Rohan Nadir in the house with a big round of applause. Good morning, absolute pleasure. Over to you.
Can you all hear me? I don't think so. You can? Can you guys hear me in the back? Yes. Lovely. Thank you, Amar. It's always nice to be complimented on my beard. I also wore shiny shoes because I was like, I was going to be on the stage. But in all fairness, I think, once you start losing hair, it's not much of a choice, okay? You have to shave it off, and if you go to Google and you actually type in what to do if you're a man losing hair, the top prompt is grow a beard. It's such a stereotype that occasionally when I Google myself, because, when you get into those depressive streaks about existential crisis, you do that. After a while, photos of me just start showing photos of bald, bearded men. So clearly, it's a stereotype. So I was told that I should start off with a joke. I thought I would compliment all of you, firstly. So how many of you are here from Delhi? Anyone who's flown down? Okay, like two. Well, another bald, bearded gentleman. Lovely. So for the Delhi folks, I mean, the AQI is 110 here, which is amazing. I don't think my body could take it, so I had to go downstairs and smoke a cigarette just to feel at home. And what lovely weather, but kudos to everyone who made it on time. Okay, I heard horror stories about Bangalore traffic. Clearly, you are the blessed lot, so you've all turned up on time. Thank you. Amma, thank you for the spectacular introduction. I'm so happy you had to do the energy bit and not me. Okay. First, I got to change this photo. It's got a blue tinge for some reason, but that is what it is. All right, so welcome. Thank you. It's lovely to do a keynote address. I'm just going to, okay, yeah, it's working. Right. So I thought we would talk about building a skills-based organization with a technology view. I do want to say this up front, though. When I was called about this keynote address, my recommendation was that what we should actually be talking about is what will L&D functions look like in 5 years? Okay, will there be an L&D function? And if it will be there, what would be the skills which L&D professionals and teams would need? But then I thought it might be too doomsday. So, I'll do a slightly toned down version of that. But really what I'm going to talk about is, I think skill-based organization, by the way, is what everyone is talking about. It's an interesting switch because over the last couple of years, earlier, every conference I would go to, return on investment or return on effectiveness, that used to be the key thing. Then over the last 3 years, it started changing into L&D getting a seat on the table. Last 1 year, wherever I go, it's tech, AI, and now the new thing is the skill-based organization. So what does it really mean for us? Before I delve into this, because there is a camera, I would like to point out that the views expressed are totally mine. They do not represent organizational views. Caveat made. So let's start. This is something which was told to me by this fantastic stakeholder 6 years back. He said, what do you think is your biggest competition? And I mumbled what I thought was apparently intelligent response. It clearly wasn't. His response was this, and it's true. L&D functions' biggest competition many years back was the internet, because whatever you could create, whatever was considered classic L&D, a lot of that started getting automated very quickly, all right? So the world has changed to now what we are talking about as a skill-based organization. So what is a skill-based organization really? I spent a lot of time over the last 3 months looking at it, doing some research, having internal discussions. There are some characteristics, by the way, which are consistent. A lot of them, by the way, if you also get onto Copilot or ChatGPT, this will pop up. So in all fairness, this is from Copilot, but I edited it for some sensibility. None of this, by the way, is new. The interesting part was, after all the hoopla, when you really get down into the research and the discussion, it's not really new. There are certain things which have started changing though. So what are those changes? What does it really mean? How does the tech lens apply to all of this? Some of this might get slightly nerdy, but I'm hoping you will all enjoy it. So let's get into this. When you start applying a technology lens to a skill-based organization, what does it really mean? What are the parts where tech has really started changing the game? Can you all see this? Is it big enough? Okay. Needs and learner profile analysis. I've spent almost 23 years in learning and development. I've built teams, I've lost people, I do a lot of work only in L&D. I haven't done anything else in my entire life. I think a lot of learning teams, when they actually get into diagnosing the issue, they do a terrible job of it. So, 4 or 5 years back over the last couple of years when people were talking about effectiveness and how do you really measure effectiveness, I think there's a fundamental challenge there. Most learning solutions which are deployed, and I'm on the receiving end, a lot of the vendors and startups and a lot of people come and pitch to me, I don't think solutions are actually designed well. And the reason they're not designed well is that I don't think we do the diagnostic well enough. Well, the thing now is that with tech catching up the way it has, we have the platforms to actually start doing very smart learning needs analysis, very smart analysis of what our learners need. So a chat which I was having with, I can't spot her, but the chat I was having with someone a couple of minutes back was that one big shift which we are now seeing is, at least that's what I'm doing now, I am recommending that you start looking at learners not as learners but consumers. They are consumers of learning services which learning functions provide. What does that mean really? It means that now, because so much of learning is tech enabled and so much data sits beyond learning also on technology platforms, there is an opportunity to start doing what a lot of financial companies used to do. They would build detailed user profiles. You actually have an opportunity to start understanding what is working for your learners, not basis surveys and what people tell you, because I find a lot of that misleading. There is what people say they want, and then there is what actually works. When you start looking at actions, the tech is now enabling us to actually start gathering data on what is actually working. Okay, for example, do you all do hybrid learning journeys in your organizations? Or you provide hybrid learning services, right? Here is the thing. You can actually start generating, and I don't know how many of you do that, but we do that. We look at data, for example, when there is a learning item which is put out there for people to access. What time and what day in a week are people accessing it? How many people access it but then drop out? How many people actually finish it? If you, for example, give people 3 weeks to finish something, typically you will see a bulk of people finishing it right before the 3rd week ends. So you can start building incredibly deep learner profiles. That has started changing, very interestingly. Second, role-based skills. A classic character of skill-based organization, and I think that's where, at least for us, and I'm seeing a lot of people seeing this, this is a significant change. Earlier, a lot of L&D was tied to the job title, and that's how learnings were mapped. Now, everyone is talking about role-based skills. What do you need to do your job effectively? The weird thing or the interesting thing about that is that that's tied very closely to a very used term, which somehow has gotten out of fashion over the last 1 year. You remember a year back, everything was hyper-personalization? It was everywhere. Now it doesn't pop up. In LinkedIn chatter, on roundtables, on conferences, people have stopped talking about hyper-personalization. I don't know why that happened, but I think it stays I think it's become even more important now. Number 3, proficiency analysis. This is going to be a big, big game changer. I see most learning ecosystems very weak on proficiency analysis. So what we are doing is we are pushing out typically learning solutions which are pegged to job roles. But the problem is that everyone's got their own individual level of proficiency on the skills they need. Are we able to do very sharp proficiency analysis, and proficiency analysis which your stakeholders buy into? You might say that this person is really good at this because I did an assessment. The problem is that does that talk to the end effectiveness, the stakeholder, which is typically a business sponsor, are they seeing that on the shop floor? That has started getting a lot easier with tech. I recently met a vendor who has an inventory of 650 assessments on a range of technology skills, and they can build, and there are platforms now, I mean, we have built, I think, around 150 assessments on behavioral skills over the last 2-3 years. A lot of that has got easier. It wasn't an option earlier. Figuring out proficiencies was a big pain. It's got much easier. And this talks back to what do you actually put out as learning? Real-time skills. I don't know how things are in your industries, but in most industries we are seeing a shortage of trained resources. Okay? Because that is happening, most HR heads, most business leaders are looking increasingly at resource fungibility. Resource fungibility plays on a very simple thing that we are able to map people's skills accurately. We are able to make it talk to the resourcing platforms, and then we can push real-time skills to people as they need them. That has started getting a lot easier with tech, because now you can create scalable learning bundles, which wasn't the case like 10 years back. The challenge is, do you know what is a sharp solution for a skill set which is very complex? All right, so learning curation we are seeing is becoming even more crucial. Learning in the flow of work, this one is my favorite. In consulting, I can tell you this was the go-to mantra for many, many years. How do you help people learn in the flow of work? Always a big challenge. Classical learning organizations typically identify learning and they push learning into specific windows of time and opportunity. You will do a boot camp, you will have specific schools, all very, very valid opportunities. But what we are seeing increasingly, and I would encourage everyone to become devout learners of the neuroscience of learning, is that if you can plug learning into the flow of work, it becomes a lot easier. Tech has started getting very smart there. Because what technology has started doing is that now tech has started picking up actual behavioral cues which are tied to learner habits. Okay, so I was actually working with a coaching platform, which is a startup a couple of years back. Very smart thing, which now has become quite common, is that they would drive automated prompts which were tied to the actions the people are supposed to take. That science is only getting smarter. And there is a concept of a personal tutor, which I will talk about, which I think is really on the horizon, which is going to be a game changer, but all in good time. Coaching for application, my personal favorite. How many of you are coaching vendors here or coaching service providers? Right, lovely. How many of us are executive coaches? You're trained for ICF level coaching. Okay, that I am putting money on it that the biggest game changer in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be a complete democratization of coaching. I'm talking about an AI-based personal coach for everyone. See, here's the thing. When you ask me as the Chief Learning Officer, how is the game changing? All organizations are investing more and more in learning tech. Which means that when I started off in learning 23 years back, what was the premium? The premium was how much you knew. What was your qualification? Where have you done your MBA? What books had you read? That entire thing is changing because now learning is available to everyone. The challenge has shifted to application. And now imagine if you had a personal coach available on your phone all the time. You've learned something, you're struggling with application. This coach is plugged into your calendar. It's plugged into your performance development ratings, your 360-degree feedback. It's plugged into your CRM. It knows where is your next meeting. It's pulling up the data to say, you know what, you're going to have a chat with this CFO. Here are 2 pieces of insight about the industry. Here is some trivia about the CFO because, you know what, network conversations are better. Here is something which you're typically bad at. For example, if you're someone who has to go in for a negotiation meeting, here is a crash course in BATNA. BATNA is a concept in negotiation, right? So real-time application of skills, hyper-personalized to you, aligned with a 24-hour coach who's available to you on your phone. That tech was very, very clunky 3 years back, and I've been watching that space for 3 years. I recently had a chat with someone where I think we are almost there. Now, every time I talk about this, people are like, dude, like I was on a round table and I was saying this and someone said, but Rohan, if we meet someone like you as a coach with the fantastic beard and a gravely voice, how do you really get that? Well, that's because virtual reality right now is terrible. Okay, so when you get into a virtual reality setup, your brain knows this is not real. Virtual reality is getting smarter. It is genuinely getting smarter at a blistering pace. So the biosensory feedback is getting better. Okay, I'm going to throw out an existential question which is not on this slide. So we are all talking about L&D and HR, right? Sure, it's a lovely thing. Let me throw out a very different idea for us to examine as HR professionals. Okay. See, we are all here because we need to get better at our jobs. We have challenges we want to overcome. It's lovely. But I offer you an alternate real-world scenario which could happen. Imagine that you go home and now you're given an opportunity that, you know what, you can plug into this virtual reality headset. Your brain will not be able to figure out whether this is real or it's virtual reality because that's how amazing real the experience is. You can have your perfect world in that virtual reality setup without the trauma and the heartbreak and all the development and the relationship complications, Bangalore traffic, Delhi smog, all of that is out. You are essentially potentially going to exist in the matrix. My large question then typically is, what is the motivation for people to engage in a current societal setup? Why would people want to do a job, get married, go take up a housing loan, get a car? Why? When you could be plugged into a system where you get all of this without all the trauma. All you need is money for the virtual reality setup, your electricity connection, you need some sort of a IV setup for food, and medical insurance, because we fall unwell. So, I'm sorry, are you raising your hand or are you blocking the blinding wisdom coming from the stage? Yes, please ask.
Change, but the human connect stays. So therefore, even if when we have a virtual reality world, I love technology. So it is how it is advanced. I'm actually looking forward to the world that we are going to be in. However, the human connect will stay and it is not going to go away anywhere. So I think that is where we will be with technology and the human connect being played. Thank you.
I think that's a brilliant point. But I also love the optimism of the youth. So you're right, that could potentially happen, but I'm going to give you a slightly harsh view also of it. Genuinely sit down and think about it on a bad day. How much do we really value the human connect, one? Secondly, what do you classify as a human connect? When we think about virtual reality or tech right now, we are going with a paradigm that our brain knows this is real, this is not real. Think about the movie The Matrix when it came out. You don't know, your brain does not know from the biosensory feedback anymore whether it's real or not. The temptation to plug into that, I mean, maybe there are stronger people than me, but I would find it very easy to succumb to that. But that's a thought. Interestingly, the fashionable question to ask is that how do you really define the human experience? That will definitely get you a couple of claps in any party, just a tip. All right, so what does it mean in terms of a very tactical level solution design at this point of time? This is a lecture which I keep doing with my team as we experiment with Copilot and other tech. How many of you are actively in learning design? That's part of your job role. Okay, good. For an L&D conference, I was hoping that there would be more people. How many of you review learning designs because you're that senior? So the people who are not raising their hands, what roles are you playing in the L&D conference? Are you all like from other aspects of HR? Yes, the answer to that is yes. Okay, so for those 5 people who have raised their hand, here is a very quick slide. Okay, this is your classic learning design, all right? Theory. So cognitively how people learn is you show them the theory, you show them use cases so that they understand how the theory applies. You provide them then, give them an opportunity to apply and provide them feedback on that. So use cases, feedback, practice, more feedback. And this is the loop which is considered your classic learning model, okay? Theory got automated a couple of years back with the launch of the Udemy's and LinkedIn's and all of the world, right? So what was considered a niche learning skill, research, design, that has significantly gone automated. Use cases view. Use cases view is a very underappreciated stepchild of most learning design, and I think all learning functions should start focusing on that. But now you have the ability, because you have text to video softwares, which are pretty good, and you have text generation or data generation softwares also, you now have the infinite ability to create infinite levels and kinds of use cases. Now that's been around for a bit. I don't think it gets appreciated. But the big game changer which is going to happen now is this. Look at a classic manager upward skill, presentation skills. How many of you have trained on presentation skills? Okay. It is there across organizations, it's typically a solid boot camp, and it's very, very labor intensive, right? Here's the thing. You now have platforms which when you talk into them have started giving you feedback on your voice modulation, okay? To some extent facial expression is generating a report card. What that means is that we now have the ability, and it will only get better, to start creating infinite practice loops which are scalable. You want to train 1,000 people on presentation skills? Not a problem. You want to train 2,000 people on negotiations. Very, very possible. I recently met a vendor who does this very interesting thing, okay? That person can take all of your learning content, all right? You have 1,000 pages of research, you have 100 hours of video, you dump it on the platform takes it all, and within seconds converts it to an automated learning storyboard, which is driven through 20, so that person has got 20 standardized simulations, all right? It builds your entire curriculum, the entire learning intervention in seconds through those 20 specific simulations, okay? Think about the opportunity that presents. And I'll tell you what really shocked me and also I think honestly scared me slightly about my job prospects. One of the simulations is that you go into that simulation and you have to teach that concept back to a virtual avatar who asks you questions. And you go through this question teaching loop where it also then gives you a scorecard of how you did. Imagine the power of that now across a lot of the technical topics which we try and train people on. So the tech is changing very, very rapidly. My worry for L&D functions is I don't think we are keeping pace. So here's a recommendation. Don't try and boil the ocean. You will not be generative AI masters. Start meeting up with niche players which map to your niche requirements. For example, for me, assessments is a big area which I want to focus on. Okay, this entire practice loop is very important for me. Implications for learner preference. This is an interesting thing which has started happening. I get a lot of questions around this tech and how it's evolving. How is it impacting learner preferences? One, and I'm going to be very upfront about this, I think social media has done terrible injustice to what learning means. I see a lot of social media posts about learning is creative, it's joyous, and is this amazingly exciting feeling. Yes, it is when you are not paying attention. Okay? If there is, I mean, let's just put it from a neuroscience perspective, right? You're doing something a certain way. Your brain has now got these set paths on how it likes to execute this action, and now you're trying to rewire your brain. It's a fundamentally challenging process. But the problem is that a lot of people are walking into learning interventions believing that, why is it so hard? It is hard because you're trying to build new muscle memory. So there is an entire aspect of how do we educate learners who are interacting with this new evolving learning ecosystem. Now you can throw in, or you can argue that, Rowan, if you gamify it, if you position it well, I'm all for it. Okay, gamify it, position it, but there has to be a basic appreciation of this concept called the growth mindset, which learning organizations need to focus on. That learning does require a certain amount of grind. It does require you to solve for problems, to get better. Number two, the concept of mastery is shifting. This one is interesting. When we started off, we means that people who started 20 years and above, you know, you were supposed to have mastery. I mean, you would go in and I would stroke my beard and say, you know what, 10 years back I had seen this and stuff. That entire thing has shifted. I have, like for example, I encourage my team members when we hire them to typically enroll for a 2 years Masters in Psychology program. Okay, so a lot of my team members are Masters in Psychology, so am I. But the thing is, you don't need that MSc in Psychology anymore. One, I would be very worried about how dated that content is. But the second piece is that you don't need to know the entire field now to apply in certain domains. That concept of application does not require as much mastery as it used to. Now, the interesting sociological aspect of it is that mastery is not as exciting as it used to be for young learners. They don't see the glory in the grind, and I have spent 5 years understanding this, then they are like, dude, you're very slow. There are smarter ways of doing it. So if you're pitching mastery as the pull, might not work as well. Expectations of user experience have shifted. This one, a lot of organizations struggle with, which is, are you all HR qualified? I mean, you've done your MBA in HR, you are HR folks, all of you, right? Now here's the challenge. We are all HR folks, and we are designing or working with technology platforms where user adoption is driven by the user experience. The user experience for most people on tech platforms is when they compare it to an Insta. Because that's how intuitive Insta is. Anything which is not that intuitive is clunky. So the problem is that if you're bringing in tech, but you haven't figured out a seamless user experience, you got a problem. Learners do enjoy the human connect. I concede. Yes, we do, as of now. The trade-offs are tougher though. Earlier, like before COVID, most training was in person. Now it's shifted to hybrid. I would bet that as the virtual reality experience gets more economical to be deployed at scale and tech gets better, the jury, I think, is going to be out on what would learners prefer. But again, the jury is out. So let's see how that works out. What does it mean for learning functions? I'm a big propagator of that. I think we need to start looking at our learners as consumers of learning services. Start building deep learner profiles. Do you understand what your learner likes? Which day of the week they learn? What kind of medium do they like? What day in the week and what time on that day do they like to learn? Each of these learners has an individual profile. They respond to different rewards, motivations, or sticks. You now have the ability to start building segregated, hyper-personalized, how should I put this, follow-up models. For example, someone who has finished 30% of the curriculum which you have targeted within the first week needs a different follow-on strategy from someone who has finished 80%. The same mailer is not going to work for everyone. The same rewards are not going to work for everyone. So, learners as consumers, credit card companies do a fantastic job of it. They build these deep learner profiles and then they have very targeted reward mechanisms. Do you know that? So, learning behavior models, super important as an area for us to get into. The challenge is most of us don't have a mindset for data or stats. Because we have been groomed in psychology, classic human resources. So there is an entire skill shift which is happening for learning functions for sure. Number 2, generic learning activities are getting automated. Learning pyramids or learning team pyramids now are clearly seeing a scenario where middle of the pyramid jobs, drafting, research, assertiveness training, time management, a lot of these bread and butter things have gone out. And with ChatGPT, Copilot and platforms like these coming in, you have an opportunity to really lift your game. Okay, so what I am seeing now is that learning functions need to focus on the bottom of the pyramid activities, which is you have a great plan. Are you able to efficiently, operationally deploy it in an organizational ecosystem? So how smartly do you run the ops? That's one. Secondly, how well do you gather the needs from the different platforms? So there is a bottom of the pyramid work, middle of the pyramid work is getting automated. Then you have top of the pyramid work for an L&D function, which is how do you ensure that the learning solutions are then integrating into the strategic and the culture fabric of the organization, because that's really where effectiveness sits, which ties back to the earlier question of how do you get a seat on the table. Businesses don't care whether you use ChatGPT or not. What they care for now is that there are all of these tools available. Can you solve my business problem smarter, more effectively in a shorter span of time? So one recommendation I have for my team, and I'm going to make it to all of you, is let's not be afraid of experimenting. Like what I tell my team is, listen, if it's worth going after, let's go after it. All right? We'll figure out how to make it happen. Because now that learning curve is a lot easier. Whatever you need to learn, or at least the first draft of a solution, can be done by an automated platform. So you don't need to learn from scratch. I think that should be a liberating thing for us. Go after things which matter now because we have the tools to make it happen. But it won't happen if you think that, oh, we're too old or tech is complex. It's not. You just need to spend enough time understanding the broad concepts of tech, but meeting up with the people who are doing special things. AI is already doing some of the strategic activities. All right, so that has already started happening at an ecosystem level. This is an interesting thing. I do a lot of conferences and roundtables. What we are typically seeing as a pattern is that learning hours, average learning hours at an organizational level typically are going up. because self-paced and virtual learning platforms have made learning very easy for everyone. The problem now, or the question which is coming up is that are they working? Are they effective? So that's a question which you need to start answering. So what does that mean? It means that we need to ensure that we are training our learners on how to interact with this learning ecosystem. So learning agility and growth mindset, slightly old school, becomes super important. I'm a huge fan of VR. I think it's terrible right now, but it will get better. When it gets really good, it will significantly impact the market. My time's up, but I'm almost done. What do I recommend? I think we need to start getting closer to the job roles. I think we need to start moving away from a stratified learning ecosystem and start understanding the job role and the workflow much better. Again, use tech for that. Dynamic planning cycles, because I don't think a 3-year planning cycle works. Have a 1-year plan, but do 3-month reviews. Breaking up job roles into skill sets and then mapping learning bundles, smarter way to do this. It will also eventually feed into resource fungibility, which is typically a solid metric for most business stakeholders. Okay, this is a personal pain point for me. I have a request for everyone as someone from the fraternity. Let's make sure that what we are putting out there, right? We know it will work. So my standard question is, are you proud of this solution when you're putting it out there? Because that's the litmus test question of, do you have some faith in this? I have been saying this for the last couple of years. I don't see a reason to change it. I think HR and learning functions need to become students of AI, learning science, consumer psychology, marketing, and change management. If you go onto my LinkedIn profile, you will actually see that I've got a postgraduate certificate in digital marketing. I have a MSc in psychology. I have a certification in change management, and we have done a lot of stuff with that. Why? Because, again, learners as consumers. Change management, because you need to integrate your learning into the organizational ecosystem. Last slide, crystal ball views. I love this one because God knows what's going to happen with the future because tech is changing so fast, but here is what I am putting money on. Number 1, learning team pyramids will dramatically change. Okay, it's already happening. It will continue to happen. I don't know which pace or where are we going to end up, but whoever your people are in your teams or if you're heading functions, please look at your utilization and the value coming out. Number 2, VR will be a game changer. Yes. Biosensory feedback will get better. Your brain will get confused. The question is, how well do we use that? Number 3, this is, I think, the holy grail, an integrated personal tutor. Someone who's with you, which I spoke about earlier, right? When that happens, I want to see if there's anything else. No. When that happens, here is what the end point is. Smart thinking is going to be available to everyone. So the differentiation between what school, college, background you're coming from, your earlier experience, all of that is going to start making less of a difference because tech will even out the playing field, and that will feed into the entire concept of I&D, equity. All of that is going to get better because tech is going to make it easier. So to wrap it up, ladies and gents, we need to get ahead of the tech. My big fear is we are not. So experiment, but if you want to experiment, then fail quickly. You can't afford to go into a 1-year testing cycle. Identify a tool, test it, do a 3-month testing and get out. Either use it or get out of it. Don't hold on to it. On that merry note, I know I have no time for questions and answers, but I'm around till 3 o'clock. It was lovely to meet all of you. Thank you for your patience. I hope you're not stunned into silence, and welcome to the conference. I hope you enjoy your next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all those insights. I'm going to request you to please stay back as we will take this opportunity to gratify for your time and presence, and I request Ms. Bilkis to do the honors. And I think we can join in and join hands for all those valuable insights shared. Thank you, Mr. Rohan.
I only came for the goodies, okay, so thanks.
Yes, and we're going to switch roles. We spoke about roles. So from the keynote speaker is going to be the moderator of the next panel discussion as well. And let's join hands in welcoming the panelists for the first discussion that is all set to segue skill agility. Fueling Growth and Aspirations in AI Era. And as introduced, we're going to have our Chief Learning Officer right here at KPMG, Mr. Rohan Nadar, who will be the moderator, who will just join us on stage as we're getting the setup done. In the meanwhile, let's also welcome all the other panelists. Before I call out the names, well, we've got all the HR heads from one of the greatest corporates across the globe. We've got talent acquisition managers heads. So you are the most people person in any organization, yes or no? Yes, you're the ones who put people first, yes or no? So make sure everybody who's coming right here, you stay as their people person and applaud and be interactive. So quickly, one more time, right here at the Festival of L&D, could we have all of you put your hands together and welcome yourself. Come on, loud round of applause. Let's interact, engage, and make the most of it. And now join me in welcoming the panelists for this discussion. First up, we have the Vice President HR from Honeywell India, Ms. Arpana Mehra in the house. A huge cheer. Joining her would be our Head of People and Culture at Share Chat. We have Anurag Verma. Could we have Mr. Anurag Verma, big cheerful gentleman? We also have our Senior Director, HR at Delta Electronics India, Mr. Kamal Sadev. And also joining the league is Head of HR Retail Technology at Geo Platforms. We have Ms. Beena Bilani. And of course, the moderator once again joining us back on stage is the Chief Learning Officer at KPMG. We have Mr. Rohan Nadar. Let's give a huge round of applause for the league and take it away, gentlemen and ladies, please.
Yeah, I'm going to take the chair here. Oh, God. But we need to change that photo, man. Oh, we're sitting like that. Okay. So that you know who is who, we are sitting in the order of the photos.
Now, if you would put every question to me next.
No.
Every question to Abhishek last. That's
Oh yeah, no, we'll mix it up. Where is Abhishek? There's no Abhishek. That's okay. Then we have more time to chat. Okay. Right. Ooh. Right. Oh yeah, you want to do, yeah, okay. I think we can settle in comfortably. We have enough space. All right. So, as you can see, our next panel is about skill agility, fueling growth and aspirations in an AI era. So we had a chat amongst ourselves about trying to figure out that what should we really be discussing here. And we had an interesting discussion. But we thought we would start off with just maybe a quick minute or two from each of the panelists on what your initial views are. You all represent different sectors, different industries. We thought it would be an interesting industry level view on what this means for you. But Apna, we are going to start with you because you're right here.
Right.
So,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Do you need a mic?
Yes, we should. So I hope you all can hear me well now. Yeah? Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much, Rohan, and great keynote session that you had. I do want to say he has covered a lot what we will be speaking now too. So
I apologize in advance.
how do we see the skill agility? How do we see the fueling growth and the AI, which is now talked about everywhere in our corporate lives, whether you are checking Instas in your social world, you are going to your parties. I think the most talked about word today is AI. How do we see that fueling ourselves? And I am picking a lot of cues from your previous session, and that's where I've noted it down. Of course, the world is changing very fast, so rapid technological changes, that is what is leading a lot to bring about our own complexities. And we do see that when we are putting AI or when we are putting ML or when we are putting any other technology in the forefront, The complexity that we have for ourselves is the fast pace, and the pace is so fast that many of us have not been able to catch up to. So we have to get ahead of technology, like he, of course, mentioned. So that's the agility you need to look into. Enhanced problem solving, and that's what, to me specifically, AI brings in. How are we using automation? How are we bringing technology to solve our problem, primarily here and now, primarily in decision making, and most importantly, with accuracy. Now, Rohin did tell me earlier that accuracy can be very debated, but if our decision making and our problem solving is not bringing accuracy and is not here and now, to us as corporates, it's no more useful. So fast pace, how are we getting ahead of ourselves in technology, and how are we using it to solve our problem here and now? And of course, data, which I'll talk about it in the next 50 minutes that we are here. How are we using data to make those smart decisions is going to be the key for all of us, and that's how we are trying to see in my current setup also.
Thank you so much, and we will circle back to this decision-making piece because it is interesting. It's also very controversial right now in terms of how much decision-making are we okay? I hate saying allowing machines to do, but how much decision-making are we okay with being guided by tech inputs? So,
right, and Rohin, we like it or we don't like it, tech is going to be the future, and tech is already the future. So most decision-making will be tech-based. Data is going to play a key role because data is driving our decisions. You took the example of credit cards. These organizations are churning data and data and data to make decision on the consumer behavior. And that's what we are going to see coming up for all of us in our corporate Inc. world also.
thank you so much. I think it's a fantastic way to start this panel. Anurag, before we get into your views, I have to ask, what's the deal with the photo, man?
Keep evolving. So yeah,
So you operate in the space really, which is just emerging tech, right? I mean, so what's your view on this?
well, yes, and I would say the last particularly 2 years have been a tremendous evolution of technology. Initial phase, everyone you was using the word AI.
Sure.
In almost everything which was not AI.
Yeah.
Right? And then people were confused that, what actually is AI? And in the industries, which we belong to or which I represent, these are fast. These are changing very fast. But these models, if you look at, you were talking about Copilot, everybody talks about it, and the most used tool is ChatGPT. It requires time. It requires time. And it's a dichotomy, right? If you look at, the industry which is evolving very fast in technology, this technology doesn't come overnight, right? While we talk about deep tech and fast tech happening, but actually behind that, it takes a lot of time to machine to learn, to train the machine.
Yeah.
Right? And that takes time and energy. And it's an investment even in these startups which are doing is building not for now, but solving for future. So I think we are in the deep tech industry in a cusp of it, that what tools are available, how best you use it, but still on top of it, and being honest to the growth and aspirations in the AI area, I think is in a stage where much of this will get evolved for the future, where the roadmap would be. Already established tools which are there, you start using it, but trust me, most of the startups can't afford a Copilot, right? So they have to rely on their indigenous tool, navigate, get across into a stage where they start using these tools and use it to the advantage.
I actually have a question for you, Anurag. It talks back to the point we just heard about database decision-making, right?
Yeah.
It is being said that the data which I'm sorry, this is not a question we're prepared for, but I think it's a good question, I would think. A lot of the data which the learning engines were being trained on earlier used to be human data, right? It was actual data which had been created. But now, the data which has started creeping in is further machine-generated data, and hence it's become like an echo chamber, because once the data gets fed in, the machine keeps building off that, and as more and more organizations use AI in any capacity to generate outcomes and outputs, how do you see that impacting decision-making? And maybe we can park that question for now and circle back to this, but if you could get your thoughts around that.
No, and that's the question, very, very deep question, and
So,
we should keep on
do you
talking.
all understand the
right?
question also?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Anurag, go on, man.
So it's interesting because all these models which are getting built upon, the good thing or the worry thing is that these start picking up the algorithms which are written, machine starts thinking like us, right? Zoom out those who are not into deep technology, into sci-fi movies sort of thing, wherein, the model itself becomes human, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, what's the word for it? Sentient, right?
Yeah, sentient,
Yeah.
right? So start behaving and thinking like human, because what people are also using to go fast track in the deep learning model is not feeding into the model is one way, but when you have to fast track it, it has to, in the background start thinking like humans, right? So what is changing is the decision making. Almost the routine decision making that we call as a strategic decision,
Sure.
the decision tree, is now decision science. In most of the organizations, the decision scientists are taking that role in building those algorithms at this moment as we talk, right? Very soon, most of the predictable decisions will be taken by machine. So I would say the era today is where organizations are deeply thinking and focusing on is, first is what technology, right? And how the technology is serving your core purpose. So I link technology with core purpose, invest upon it, adapt, right? Adapt for what you want to do in future.
Okay.
So the mantra today is adapt for organizations, but for individuals, it is you have to upskill. Very fast upskill yourself, because what you were doing, machine is doing. So what you can do on top of it. So you need to think ahead. And also, technology doesn't seem like, there are so many things I see every day on, the chat GPT prompts, that how do you learn to, and that's, to me, it's a skill now. That there's a lot of data, there's a lot of insight, how do you pick up from there? And then these two will go on here. It's a journey.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to Kamal for his views on the topic. Kamal, again, very different industry compared to the other panelists. What's your view, man? How is it working out?
Okay, so let's make this panel discussion a little interesting. Everybody is talking gaga over technology. I have a little different view on this.
Firstly, it's a sad commentary on my ability as a compare, but sure, man, go on.
For you, not specifically, but see, right now what I would feel is that because I get an opportunity, my organization, we go to a lot of IITs for hiring.
Sure.
And I spend a lot of time with these professors, the distinguished lecturers and researchers who are behind machine learnings and AI. So whenever we speak to them and we talk about one very important question, that how is going to be these jobs redundant or not. So they said that it's a common phenomena among them, that
Sure.
that's you cannot say that jobs will get redundant or something which will get more multiply, because if you go back even in 90s, see, I also come from a telecom industry. So in 90s, if you see, there were some jobs of specifically of, those operators who used to plug in wires when they used to transfer the calls. And that time, we thought that these jobs are gone when the evaluation happened. But actually, if you see, there are many other jobs we couldn't think that time, and now it has really evolved. So what I'm trying to say is that it's the wheel, but it's not the brain behind the wheel. So it's always the human quotient and human revolution which will keep on making this wheel churn. Okay, I ask you one question. Maybe, you all have those chatbots where you talk to when you go to any query. I think most of us are only waiting when really the human gets into the picture and we start talking to them, because they are only giving us those answers which we already know, or, our query are solved like repetitively. So, thing is that we are too far from concluding this right now, that we can really take decisions based on this technology only, and maybe it can assist, but the feelings, the questions, the experience, what human can bring into it, it will be always part of it, and I think with the time it will evolve. So probably, we need to have right now the balance. In fact, if you go to your chat GPT or any open AI and you ask how many are in Raspberry, it will give you 2. And the funny part is, if you ask, are you accurate? 100% accurate, it will say. So it's giving the wrong answer, plus it's confidently lying.
Yeah, but in all fairness, we deal with a lot of people who will lie with extreme confidence.
Yes.
Why judge the poor machine for doing it?
Absolutely, I agree with you.
The same thing.
So now we have come to the point, human machines are same, yeah?
It's a very interesting point you've made, and I think the job obsolescence piece keeps getting spoken about. But you're right, it's going to definitely create a whole new, tech is creating a whole new lineup of jobs and work which hasn't existed earlier. But when you do these discussions, you see a lot of times we hear analogies about the steam engine, the industrialization, and then the 90s. But I think the one significant differentiator is that this pace of tech change we have never seen earlier. So one point which I will make, and maybe we can circle back to it, what you and I were talking about earlier, that, see, when you throw in, if you broad-base technology, not just from a tech platform perspective, but you start throwing life science into it, like 3D printing of organs. You look at human longevity going up. They are saying that our kids are going to live up to 100. Best of luck to the ones who are in Delhi. I mean, another smog is going to happen. But let's say technology solves for that also. So there is a distinctive shift which we can imagine in the socio-economic markers also of life. You don't need to now think about retiring at 60. You'll be working till potentially 80. You might potentially look at immortality as you define it or whatever. So a lot of that now is a wide blue open horizon, because we have never seen this kind of blistering pace of change. But we'll circle back to that. Kamal, any last sentences on this?
Like I said, we are waiting for it to be more evolved, and decision making yet is not to be,
I like Kamal. He's a believer in humans. He's like, kitna karwa loge tax. Good. Nice. Beena, again,
Hi.
slightly there in the tech space, but it's a mixed bag for you. So what's your view? How are you seeing this entire piece? We've spoken about decision making, but what's your view?
So I think it is common sense that agility is the most important item right now in everyone's mind, because as we're jumping onto the bandwagon, or trying to jump onto the wagon for all sorts of jobs and industries, bandwagon of AI, a lot of us are clueless. Not everybody has a real strategy in place in terms of, have I charted out on paper? Do I know what is my first step, second and third? This is how I'm going to do it. Or there is no definitive benchmark as well. We can't say that I'm going to look at company X, Y, and Z and going to follow their path and get onto the AI bandwagon. So I think agility in terms of skills, in terms of thinking, in terms of being ready to welcome the new, that there is a big shift going to happen. It may happen slowly for me, but it is going to happen. I can't avoid it anymore. I think that resistance to change which might come in our minds or the others, that is going to be a big step to sort of navigate, because we are dealing with people while we are trying to bring in AI. And AI is also being built on the basis of the intelligence and data from people itself. So I think that's going to be very, very important, because if you don't address the human element in this, we can all say, bring platform X, Y, and Z, adopt it, and this is your new AI life. But if you're not addressing the user base, or if you're not addressing the change agents within the organization, or if you're not doing it from the point of view of strategy, that this is how I want my org to look, and hence, these are the steps I'm taking, the change is going to be very, very difficult. And the change is going to happen, it's not going to stop. It's not going to be while many jobs could be very long lasting based on packaging or based on years of history and knowledge, like you mentioned in your own opening address, that this is the number of years of experience that I have, and hence I'm an expert, and hence talk to me with respect. That sort of became a package. It's not going to be relevant anymore because the package is not going to help us. It's all going to be brain work, because we are in this phase where we are moving from point A to point B, and this phase is going to be long. It's not that tomorrow I have an AI solution and I'm going to be the next AI person in HR. It won't happen that way. So the phase is going to be long. It is going to be difficult and challenging because this generation itself has seen so many changes now, and this is the next one that we are looking at. We are, of course, looking at it with positivity and optimism, like everyone mentioned, but it is a real change. So if you're not agile and if you're not quick to adopt, I think that is going to be difficult. So I think that is the readiness phase that we have to be at right now, all of us.
Lovely, thank you. I'm actually going to ask you now my next question. And no, we are not working our way to and fro. Yeah, I know. I mean, we're gonna surprise you. Okay, like who's next after that? All right. So tell me something, and I think it'll be very interesting to hear the views from four of you, because I think this is a very nuanced question which typically does not get much spoken about. Now with this entire AI tech, this entire chatter, all the platforms which are available, how are you seeing a difference in how people are approaching professional aspirations? And I would love to hear views, and that's what the chat we were having earlier, that are you seeing a segmented view that people who are the younger folks here who are digital natives, they are looking at it differently vis-a-vis folks who would classically qualify as mid-management, vis-a-vis people who classically qualify as senior management. How is this impacting how they're approaching work ambitions? For example, in all fairness, when I was young, I thought I was going to work till 60. My financial planner tells me I need to work till 60. I don't know if I'm going to have any saleable skills after 50. So I got a few years to make all the money I can. Are you seeing some fundamental existential questions, or are you seeing a change in pattern behavior? For example, as I think I was saying, we're seeing with some of the younger lots, right? I was in the elevator, and I'm not a creepy guy, but there was someone whose phone was like, it was a packed elevator, and her phone was right next to her face and was unfortunately also next to my face. And dude, she was running on Chat GPT, all of this. There was a whole detailed bunch of instructions on some security coding which she had to run. Okay, that was not the case till 2 years back. So there is a change now in how people are approaching jobs, tasks. We are seeing that a lot of the people who are joining the workspace are talking about, I want to do strategic work and I'm bored with this, like in the 6 months. Typically the cycle used to be that, they would survive at least for 2 years before they said, I want to do strategic work. So there's a shortening of what people are considering as an acceptable longitude to any job. So what are some of the observations you have? And we would love to hear, because this is a fantastic across panel view. So we'll start off with you, Beena.
I have a slightly different bifurcation from yours.
Sure, go for it.
And it could be different across geographies or companies.
Sure.
Both are possible. From my observation, I think the 9 to 5ers or 6ers or 10ers, whatever the time zone is now, are unfortunately not changing in expectations. I think there is still a mental vertical ladder, and I want to be AVP and then VP and SVP and whatever else the designations are available at the organization. And this is across generations. It's not that the freshers are thinking differently.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you there for like 1 second? How many 9 to 5ers here? No, 9 to 6. 9 to 9. Okay, so you have a steady day job. How many of us have a steady day job which can qualify as 9 to 5, 9 to 10? Raise your hands proudly. Okay, good. Big flex, yeah, okay, hybrid, flexibility, all of the qualifiers, all right. What Beena said, how many of us are still looking at the structured corporate ladder rising? Raise your hands if you are. I mean, yeah, I want to have power and I want to be drunk on power, yeah, I mean, I like titles and seniority, okay, so there are few people, okay, so it's a
I think what you
bag.
are saying is that even a change in visiting card, till today, it makes a lot of value to any person.
Visiting card. No, sorry. I think we should.
What I mean is the designation.
On
The-
LinkedIn. It's
yeah.
not official till it does not change on LinkedIn. Okay, visiting cards. I don't
And then AI can write you a nice write-up about how.
You know,
how-
that's actually spooky how
Yes.
smart it is getting about write-up. So, Beena, I'm sorry, I'm going to circle back to you. Please, go on.
So, based on my observation, I think the 9 to 5ers still have a vertical ladder in mind, and everyone's looking at growth.
Sure.
Because historically, we have addressed and attached power, money, and
Sure.
responsibility, and team members. to
Socioeconomic
this-
markers, yeah.
Correct, to this growth. But there are also various combinations in the workforce today. There's freelancer, there's gig worker, there's a hybrid person, there's a person who comes into office whenever. There's lots of combination. I'm not too sure they have a ladder. I think what the population more values is flexibility, pay me for my task, and so that I can move on to the next item. Or because I am creative, I need to do many things at a time, and allow me my space and don't ask me for status or make me do dashboards and reports like everybody else in your organization. So the levers for that population is slightly different. I also see some amount of creeping in very slowly of very hybrid kind of jobs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you have to have, HR and AI going together. You have to have finance and data science going together. There's a lot more combinations that are going to come up very slowly. It's not that, very fragmented, I will do recruitment and you will do procurement and you will do finance. I can see it hazing out very, very quickly. Not everyone's recognizing it immediately, even if we are in the job, but it will.
That's a
happen.
very, very interesting point. See, because the technology tools are making it very easy for us to move across fields, that's actually a fantastic point. We are increasingly going to see amalgamation of fields which earlier were very different. For example, liberal arts and tech has started getting talked a lot about because the view is that a human philosophy mindset is really what you need to start making tech more humane. It's a brilliant point. Please, go on. Oh, you're done. Cool. Thank you. No, it's not you, because we had promised an element of surprise. We're going to do a jump right across back to you, Arpana.
Sure. So echoing some bit of what Beena mentioned, however, let me bring a different perspective again here. The next gen that we are continuously talking about, where the interests that they bring forward is on an impact and purpose. So they are wanting to get more involved where their lives are impactful and with a purpose. I think most of us, probably on this panel sitting here 20, 25 years ago, did not start our career journeys or our education thinking about the impact and purpose. We were probably thinking, how will I make an impact to my country? How will I make an impact to my corporate? But the generations that we are now dealing with are talking about the impact on the society, the impact on technology. And where did I learn this from? My 22-year-old daughter, who is more attuned to picking up her shopping spree from sustainable, digital, aligned boutiques or setups or whatever we want to call them, even thrifting, the thrifts that they do. The word that they would like to attach, or she is more keen to attach to, is how sustainable it is.
Yeah.
How impactful it is, and should we start repeating what we even wear to be more sustainable. So I think the mindsets are definitely shifting. It's about what is the impact that we need to create for our society is definitely coming back. Somewhere it had gotten lost when we were growing up, or when we had picked up our corporate jobs, because we were very stuck with the next growth level, and then how we are picking up more for ourselves, the region, the geographies, the countries, and whatnot. So that's definitely there, and their flexibilities and the learning curves, I'm seeing it very, very different than what we would have seen, how we had grown up. So I think the crux here is that the world is evolving and the world will continue to evolve. What we are doing now is not what we will do 5 years from hence. What we will do 5 years from now is not what we will do another 5 years from then. Which is, if we look back into the history, has exactly how it happened. But the pace and the agility with which it is happening now is mind-blowing, a bit freaky also, because we all need to get ourselves a bit ahead of it. We are still talking about adopting and adapting. I think we need to start using some different words. Not sure what, but it's not about adapting and adopting anymore.
I'm afraid I don't have an answer on that one.
I know.
But
We
it's a
don't
good
have
one.
many answers to all of this. But
Sure.
on a very regular basis, I get challenged by my daughters, whom we call them as next gen, and they are asking very different questions.
You know, the interesting thing, and you spoke about the new Generation
Next
Z.
gen, yeah, next gen.
Generation Z, right? Is that the term?
It is now the millennial.
No,
I now
millennial
start-
was 1980.
Millennial Z, the alphas actually.
They call alphas?
The alpha is also there now.
Sociologically, alpha doesn't make sense. It keeps changing for the young ones right now. An interesting aspect which ties back to the growth and aspiration scene is that while we are also seeing a shorter tolerance for any job role, I think there is also, and I think it talks back to Kamal, what you were talking about, there is a plethora of alternate work opportunities which can give you very lucrative and extremely satisfactory lifestyles. It did not exist when we were starting. We seem to have missed the bus on that. But yeah, I mean, for the younger lot, what that means is that when we are driving high performance or ambition in any organization, people now are comparing what is being offered vis-a-vis a blue sky horizon. Gig workers being, of course, one of them, but apparently people who are now working as influencers are making tons of money. And yeah, interesting space.
And the side hustles that this next gen wants to continue doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the entrepreneurship has really taken off
entrepreneurship
just
mindset,
because tech
yes.
has made it so easy. Interesting place. We're going to, I think, explore some of these very nuanced aspects more because we have time. It is your turn.
Maybe, yeah, we are time traveling, somewhere like 20, 25 years back and forth. But what I would say is that we need to see a macro, and micro both the views. See, where, as in country also, where we are right now, we were not in that situation maybe 20, 25 years back.
Very true.
And the kind of growth which we are witnessing, that's not the growth which any country in the world, I would say, apart from, some of the Asian countries, small countries like growing countries, but India as this large size country and witnessing 6-7% of growth every year, that's one thing which has really added into this kind of a rapid thinking and very fast changing, generation way of handling things. And I completely agree with my fellow panelists that the new generation has some thoughts, behind whatever they want to do. And they always see a purpose. So it depends, how the generation grows in terms of the overall, what are the exposures which we are giving. So probably, if I give an example, a colleague of mine in Europe, he is very well settled, very good potential, but he just doesn't want to grow. He said, no, I'm fine. I'm in this individual contributor role and I just want to continue doing that. I said, what do you do after going back 6? He said, I just sit in my garden and I see the mountain.
Yeah, see, the problem is, and I hear a lot of this, but the problem is in India, if you want to do that, right, you may need to make a lot of money.
It will happen, Rohit. It will happen.
How are you going to get a mountain in Delhi, man? Come on.
It will happen. No, in Delhi, it's a different case. So I'm sorry for that.
We have the cloud.
Although I'm a Delhiite, so let's not get into, Bangalore, Delhi.
Sorry, go on, man.
But what I feel is that the kind of growth which we are witnessing, we are not even able to understand. We are not able to handle it properly right now. If you see the gap, what we always talk about, skill gap, there is a talent need to be groomed. So we compare with maybe some of the developed nations, you know, already you see Japan or some other countries, you know, they're small in size, but the efficiency level is totally different. So probably, you know, our talent will also reach that level and they will also think, you know, beyond what we are doing.
So efficiency, right? We're gonna circle back to this, and we're gonna try and keep it non-controversial. But yeah, we're gonna circle back to the efficiency question. But go on, please.
I think you can
Okay, cool.
shoot, yeah.
No, we're gonna let Anurag share his views, and then we'll circle back to this efficiency question. So Anurag, how are you seeing people, just behaviors and actions and their approach to careers and ambition change?
Well, I agree to most of you, right? We all are dealing with both set of, you know, people. But interestingly, you know, I had an opportunity to work with the Gen Z, what do you call across, or, you know, the new terms of the new people that is coming in.
We're going with Gen Z. For
Yeah,
all
so
practical
Gen Z
reasons, Gen
across.
Z now.
And some of these, you know, right from their college, have built up, you know, $1 billion worth organizations, right? And I've worked very closely with them and
Sure.
other teams across. So, you know, I agree. They have a purpose in mind for sure. They have a lot of clarity in what they want to do. But, you know, most of them are very unconventional in the way people are looking at jobs and careers.
Yeah.
For them, it's not a job, it's a career. Am I contributing significantly towards the organization, right? That's where they think across. Is my role relevant to that? Until the time it is relevant, I'm here. Money, designations, titles do not bother because they know till the time they are relevant, they are significantly contributing towards there, they will get it. If they don't get it, someone else will give them. So they're just not bothered about it, but they're, you know, seeking those opportunities within. Now, and that's where the shift comes in, where they sort of, you know, look at staying in an organization or moving fast from an organization. And the challenge for such organizations where you have so many people is how do you match their aspirations alongside the pace of the organization if it is growing that fast and rapid, you know, and they find their own ways. So they will come to you and they will say that here only I need help to upskill myself. Rest all I'm taking care of myself because I know how do I move across.
Sure.
But these organizations also have, you know, mid-level people.
Sure.
Right? And these are also moving fast in terms of they want to do different roles within the time span. Because for them, what they feel, as you were saying, is 50 a good age or 45 is a good age, and how do I catch up for what I've not done? Because they see this part of the organization is definitely moving very fast. I can't keep up the pace, so I have to don different hats, different sort of roles. And, you know, nobody is sort of looking anymore in, I would say, the organizations which are predominantly Z, in terms of a vertical or a horizontal career ladder. It's more about being relevant to both my purpose and organization's purpose. Am I getting an opportunity to contribute, and at the same time, am I learning significantly?
Sure.
Money, of course, would come in.
So I have a slightly, okay, it's a controversial topic these days, but I'm going to ask. So with tech making efficiency, leading to efficiency and getting outcomes easier, do you foresee a change in the 40-hour working week? Feel free to say that, dude. I want to get into it.
I will say the cross that I'll make a start first because
I don't have a view.
Yeah, look, you know, the hours of working, I would say, is in the organizations which